JMMI sounds more like a pyramid scheme than a ministry.
The greatest revelation known to mankind. What if you could have the ancient biblical powers of old, lost for thousands of years? The key has been found to bring the ancient powers back to the 21st century. Extending time, time traveling, powers of ascension into heaven and descension into hell, supernatural powers of walking on top of water, commanding storms to obey you like Jesus did, invincibility, gods, emperors, eternal kings, governors, teleporters, hyperjumpers, blood warriors, electricity power, dreamers, healers, world shakers, resurrectors, princes, the power of might, walking in the ancient glory of shadow powers just like Peter did, healing many with his shadow, raising the dead, invisibility, dominion and mastery over fire, wind, earth, time, space, and water. The power of multiplication, the release of God's healing power through cloths. Resurrection power. It's not just raising the dead. It is to be supernaturally raised up like Paul declared in Philippines, that I may know him and the power of his resurrection. That same resurrection power he also talked about in Ephesians, saying, that ye may know what is the exceeding greatness of his power to usward who believe, according to the working of his mighty power, which he wrought in Christ, when he raised him from the dead, and set him at his own right hand in the heavenly places, far above all principality and power and might and dominion, and every name that is named, not only in this world, but also in that which is to come. In this dynamic revelation, you will learn that when Jesus rose off the ground in mid-air in front of his disciples, it wasn't what people cheaply call levitation. Rather, in the kingdom, God calls it being a part of his resurrection power, which means to be raised or lifted up in any form. This marvelous power has been demonstrated in this generation, even with preachers in our time, like with the little boy Davy Walker, rising off the ground, like you see here in this picture, during the voice of healing revival. Amazing! This is just the beginning. There is a rich inheritance through a spiritual DNA that you can have. Through his trip to heaven, the Lord revealed to David E. Taylor this ancient revelation, now given to our generation. In his premier visitation to heaven, the Lord allowed him to speak to Catherine Coleman and Smith Wigglesworth, as well as other great generals of the faith like Bishop C.H. Mason. Hear what Jesus allowed them to tell David E. Taylor, that has now birthed this landmark, milestone, revolutionary breakthrough in the 21st century. Recently, at the National Crusade Against Cancer, 17 years after he received this message in heaven, the Lord told Apostle Taylor that it was now time for him to release this revelation globally. The message has the power to revive a backslidden church into the revived, restored, and glorified state that God has destined it to be. This is the 100% biblically guaranteed way for you to truly come into the fullness of your identity, calling, and destiny. Inheritance by lineage.
I'm at a loss for words. This has to be the worst gimmick I've ever seen. David E. Taylor has been watching too many superhero movies. I'm pretty sure he doesn't teleport around stage while shooting flames out of his hands.
Go get the money, go get the money. Go get the money, go get the money. Go get the money, go get the money. Go get the money, go get the money.